The technology developed by the New Zealand forestry sector more than 20 years ago is now used overseas, could still offer some value add options for Kiwi foresters today. Richard Rennie spoke in this week's Farmers Weekly to Russell Dale in the New Thinking section on how acetylation, I've got to check in with, I think I've pronounced that wrong, wood processing technology can turn pine into a high-value building product. Evening, Russell. Sorry, I did pronounce that wrong.
Good evening, Sarah. Yeah, acetylation.
Acetylation.
The technical name? Yes.
Acetylation. Before we talk about the acetylation technology we developed here in New Zealand and then since has been used around the world, what is your favourite food product that you think defines us as Kiwis?
It would have to be a nice roast leg of lamb. I think
there we go. We're on the same page already.
We have it on Saturday night, so that would have to be our favourite, along with a nice glass of Central Otago Pinot.
You're winning my heart, Russell. Stop it. Russell, let's talk about the wood processing technology. What does it involve? And tell us about how it evolved the invention here in New Zealand.
Well, the process is called acetylation, and it involves replacing the moisture, the water inside the wood cells with a compound called acetic anhydride, which basically is forced into the wood, and it replaces the water, and it repels water getting into the timber, and that's how it gives it the durability and durability and stability. Improved durability and stability that you would not normally have with radiated pine. The technology has been around. It's been around quite a long time. There were some changes or modifications made to the technology by our Forest Research Institute, probably about 20 years ago, and then that was picked up by an overseas company. But they also did a large amount of research to take it to a commercial product. So it wasn't all entirely invented here, I suppose, but there were some important tweaks to the technology made here that enabled a firm over in Europe to commercialise the technology.
We'll get into, obviously, your thoughts around improving the commercialisation of our value add to our log products shortly. But so could you just talk us through the process and the value chain of a New Zealand pine felled, sawn, dried and shipped to Europe, leaving our shores at X tonne and returning to our shores at X worth a tonne? Could you explain that?
Okay, I did notice in the flyer for your program that you talked about logs going to Europe. Well, we don't actually send logs to Europe for treatment. So the process is that the forest owner prunes his trees, usually when they're between ages 7 to 8 to 9, and then radiata is typically clear felled at around age 25, and then the prune logs, the most valuable part of the tree, are then sawn and processed in New Zealand into clear boards, and then those clear boards are dried and they're exported, taken up to Europe, where they're treated in a factory in Holland, and then the finished product then comes back to New Zealand. So in terms of value, the prune log is sold by the forest owner for about $180 a cubic metre or a tonne. It's then sawn and processed in New Zealand and dried, and the value of those clear boards is then normally around about $1,000, and then when it comes back and is sold here, it's selling at the highest price that we pay for products like Quila for decking, where it's selling for probably around $3,500 to $4,000 a cubic metre.
So in the long run, into the future for our value-added forestry, what do you believe we can do to ensure that technology like this doesn't leave our shores as we go into the future, and we can actually start to protect this value chain that has evolved?
Well, we would, we all, as forest owners and forest growers, we really would like to see more value-add processing in New Zealand. The reality is we are a small country, and much of our production from here is exported. And so so if we do process here, then we do have to export into international markets. A lot of the countries that export product back here have a large domestic market, and it's always easier to export into world markets if you have a solid and large domestic market to work off. So, the value for New Zealand is certainly to be able to prune, and we would like to see some of that value coming back to forest growers in form of prices for prune logs, because we have seen forest owners here pruning less in recent times. And this acetylation technology is identified clear radiata pine is the best wood in the world to actually produce these products. The producers up there have tested a whole range of wood products around the world, and they've come up with clear radiata pine as the best wood to actually make this acetylation, or what is marketed as a coir wood in the world.
And as a coir, obviously the whole term of the processing, achieving that huge premium due to the fact of the hardening of it and it being that good quality. What type of things is it going into specifically, Russell?
Well, that's the exciting part about it, because it's enabling radiata, which normally is not durable, and it is also not stable for many applications. So when treated in this way, it can actually move into those really high-end applications like decking, outdoor decking. It can be used on weatherboards, on the exterior of buildings, and it is also very stable. So you can actually paint it in dark colours. Dark colours are often favoured. You cannot put dark colours onto normal radiata weatherboards, but when it's treated in this technology, you can apply dark colours and it will remain stable, but importantly, it also remains durable. And to get that durability, you don't have to use a range of heavy metal-based preservatives, which are not environmentally friendly if they get into the environment. So an advantage of this technology is it's not using those heavy metal-based preservatives.
Oh, my only thing that's running through my brain is, how much is it going to cost for us to be able to do this here?
Well, we don't. I don't know. I'm not involved in the wood processing business, so I wouldn't like to answer those questions. And
Sure.
because often in these processing technologies, it's actually scale that is important. And as I said earlier, New Zealand often doesn't have that scale to enable us to do those things. It's a bit like our merino wool. We export that. We send that up to Italy, or we send it up to China to be made into nice fine woolen suits and icebreaker tops, because it can be done up there at a much greater scale than we can. So we have similar issues in other parts of our primary sector as well.
Yes, and we have lost a lot of fantastic local mills and manufacturing, which I know there's a lot in the wool industry we'd love to see come back. Thank you so much, Russell, for taking the time to join us. Russell is the Chief Executive for the Forest Growers Research.
This is Sarah's Country.